Roll.
Game over!
Hello, Leafs fans. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. My name's Harnish. I'm here with Fouad, and again, we've got another late episode, so that's why my voice is a little bit lower. I have family that's sleeping right next door, but for the second game in a row, that's right, we won. We were 2-0 in the California road trip, a stark difference from the last season where we had a little
Oh
bit of
yeah.
troubles. But today, we got goalied, but somehow we were able to pull it off at the end off of an Austin Matthews OT winner. Fouad, what were your thoughts on this game? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I like that you're the whole show. You're going to be telling us a secret. It's like, guys, I'm going to tell you something here. No, I hear you. It's very weird doing these at like midnight. It's very. You did that yesterday for a 10:30 game. Don't know how you
Yeah,
did that,
we ended at
but
2:30.
geez. Anyway. So this game was like all kinds of hilarious. Like off the top, literally, Steve like had a tweet like 9 hours ago about Dostal starting that
Mhm.
like the Leafs are going to lose this game just because the Leafs, right? And I'm like, he does. He's the like he can prophesize some crazy things going against the Leafs because it was looking exactly like that for about like most of the game.
Yeah. I mean, you thought that maybe on the second half of a back to back. I mean, Anaheim they throw in. Oops, my light. They throw in Dostal, Lucas Dostal. Their second goaltender. They didn't throw in Gibson tonight, and just remember, like the last time that we played against Anaheim, that was a 7-0 win. It was a shutout win where we scored five goals on Lucas Dostal and he got driven off of the ice. So today, I mean, that you have all the momentum heading into it. You had a fantastic game the night before in a shutout win, a 3-0 win over the Kings. And I thought that hey, this is a chance for the Leafs to really stamp put their dominance, put their foot down, and have a decisive win. And other than the actual scoreline, other than the fact that it went to OT, quite honestly, they controlled the game through and through the
Dominated the game.
entire game. Exactly. We look at the first period, and they started off with an absolute banger. That first line was flying.
Yeah.
They end off that first period with 18 shots on goal to 9. Absolutely insane stuff.
They doubled them up for almost the entire game. Like there were points in the game where it was like they doubled them up and then some in
hmm
shots. Like it was like 55 to like 26.
It was
Like
57 to 28. And
was
and
that where that's where
that
you
was
got it
the
at? Yeah.
that was the end.
And
Insane.
wow. And they doubled up them on faceoffs too. Like in doubling them in shots, like faceoffs, it was like 60 to 40. At one point, it was an even bigger gulf. Like this was a dominating performance. If John Gibson is in net, it's like a 5-1 game, maybe. Like honestly, I literally think so. Nothing against John Gibson. That's just the way the Leafs were playing. Like they did not have any letdown from that game. I mean, listen, they're kind of in the same city. It's like Anaheim is like driving to Hamilton. I mean, like in relation to Los Angeles, but from Toronto. Anyway, I messed that up. But they had no letdown at any point in the game. Like they started the game with absolute shooting hot fire, and then they came out of the second period and they shot hot fire too. Like there was no give with this team.
Exactly. And just before we get into the second, in that first period to end off, the Leafs had 12 high danger chances to the Ducks 1. Like that's the way that the game kind of went throughout, but that's an insane number. That's a stat from what was it? It was from Natural Stat Trick. That's an insane stat, and we'll talk a little bit more about the underlying numbers because yes, the Leafs had a fantastic game today. Let's talk a little bit about the second period because that's where things got a little topsy turvy
Yes.
with that Bobby McMahon 5 minutes in the game misconduct for Borden Pavel, Mintyukov. What was your thoughts on that Borden penalty, that game misconduct? What did you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, most of the times I think both like a game misconduct or a penalty that warrants a 5 minute major in a game misconduct. Generally, you know it on the first look of it, or at least the first replay,
Mhm.
right? I guess okay, they called it a game misconduct so they could reverse it, so they could like go and look at it. But like, I was shocked that he got thrown out for that play. Like that was not that didn't look. Look, I'm all for player safety, like really I am, and the boards, that area between the boards, like that, like 10 feet between the board, that's a danger zone for players. But he didn't hit him on the numbers. Like if a player, if he were to go and hit him right on the numbers and behind, and he sent him like head first into boards, suspend him. I don't care. I would not be on his side. But he hit him pretty clean, and it was just a weird angle to where the Anaheim player went into the boards. I didn't like the game misconduct there. I don't think anybody liked the game misconduct, and that's not even being homeristic because I I'll call the Leafs out when the Leafs are wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was I'm on the same boat. I completely agree with you. I think it was a very, very weird call, and the fact that they spent that much time and then came to that decision is what really baffles me. Like if we look back at that hit, Bobby McMahon engages, or when he engages the hit, it was shoulder to shoulder throughout,
Yeah,
right? And the reason why this looks a lot worse, or the outcome is a lot worse, is because Pavel turns away from the hit, something that you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to be, as a smart NHL player,
yeah,
you gotta defend yourself, right? And make sure when you're not putting yourself in a position where you are at a high risk of injury or you are at a high risk of getting hurt, right? And turning on a check is something that you should not be doing, right? Now I can understand it being important. I can understand a penalty, but I don't think he should have been kicked out. And like you said, this is not a homer take. I think a lot of the Twitterverse, a lot of the online sentiment is kind of on the same page as us. And what really irks me and what annoys me even more is just the lack of consistency. I think that's the thing that really
yeah,
pisses me off. This league just has zero consistency when it comes to these kind of penalties. The fact that that was five in a game, and Nick Cousins, sorry, kneeing a down Yuso Velmaki isn't. That's a problem. There's something that has to be looked into, because there is just absolutely no consistency. Tell me that that doesn't deserve a game and whatever, whereas this
yeah.
does. It makes no sense to me, right? It's just baffling. I don't know what the league is doing, but something has to change.
It's been that way. Like there is no standard of really anything. Like anything. You don't know what goaltender interference is. You don't know what a suspension is. Like there's no idea. Sometimes a suspension is 8 games. Sometimes somebody could swing a stick and try to decapitate somebody, and it's like no games. It's a $5,000 fine. I honestly don't even know if like the refs or like watch any other games or know of anything else going on. I literally think they just see everything as something new. Like there's no precedent of anything. Like especially like I mean league safety. I mean this is probably not going to become a suspension, but in that case, it's like I don't think they watch the game or see any kind of like patterns. I think they just go like this one. What do you think? 4 games? 5 games? One game. One game. Like that's kind of how they work, right?
Yeah, they really just need to sit down with these refs and just try to understand and figure out like the rules of the game, because clearly there's some kind of disconnect. And I think that's really what irks fans a lot, right? If the league decides that this is a penalty or this is a game in 5 minutes, five in a game,
Yeah.
then make sure that is the way that you're going to call it throughout the season, throughout all the different games, to everyone, right? But the fact that there is no consistency, I think that's what really irks hockey fans in
Yeah.
general. And that's the biggest problem. Just figure out how you want to call this stuff, right? If you want to make that a whatever it is, make sure that's consistent throughout. I hate the fact that there's just no consistency.
Yeah, I mean that's preaching to the choir. I don't think it's gonna get better. I think we're just gonna have to like. I think we just decide that we should honestly play games. Like how many games? That would be a really good game. It's like if we see something, it's like how many games? Like we should make a game show. Like, we should actually just start our own like game show here. Be like how many games for this hit, and every time we'll be completely wrong.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It was really weird, but let's move on. So it ends up being a 4-on-4 for 2 minutes because Lubushkin, ex-Leaf, he answers the bell, fights against Bobby McMahon, and that 4-on-4, the Leafs honestly had quite a couple chances, especially with Nylander. And then during the 5-on-4 that the Ducks had for 3 minutes, the Leafs get a power play opportunity. Killorn was roughing on McCabe.
Yeah, really bad penalty. I don't know what that was, a weird call and a weird thing to do
Yeah, the
there.
refs were just on something tonight. Let's be honest. I don't know what they were looking at, but
Makeup call.
yeah. But also like stupid. Yeah, it was so stupid. But anyways, it ends up being a 4-on-4 for 41 seconds. That gets killed, and then the Leafs were on I guess it was a transition between the 4-on-4 to the 5-on-4 Leafs a power play opportunity, and in that transition, literally before one of our guys is able to come on the ice and give us the man advantage, the Ducks end up scoring. Vetrano, who's honestly having a pretty good year. He's had his 18th goal this season.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, there was actually a moment, I believe that he was the number one goal scorer in the league earlier on the season, so he's looking fantastic, and he's able to bring or get the first goal, put the Ducks up, and yeah, it just sucks because the Leafs were outplaying them up until this point. But what'd you think about that whole sequence and that Vetrana goal?
Yeah, it was a that's the thing is there wasn't a lot I could really harp on. I don't think it was that egregious. I think it was a giveaway somewhere between Domi and McCabe. There was something there that was a miscommunication. Domi is apt to giving the puck away or having turnovers while he's on the ice, and everybody seemed to be like collapsing at the blue line. Like nobody kind of saw Vetrano just going to the net. He was kind of unabated. Like
Hmm.
Martin Jones, lost in all this, had a pretty damn good game too. That one was like pretty hard to stop. I don't know how much of a chance he had there, but yeah, it was. At that point, I'm like, man, I don't know if they're gonna win this one because Lucas Dostal has just channeled the spirit of Jacques Plante and George Vesna, whoever you want. Like he was absolutely just on one. So I'm like, geez, if you give up one goal, I'm like, I don't know if the Leafs are going to get another one the way it was playing. But spoiler alert,
They were able to make it up right at the
they were able
end.
to make it up eventually. Yes,
Yeah,
eventually.
eventually. But yeah, like you said, it was a really weird play where on that Vetrano goal, you saw Bertuzzi making a dive in like scrambling play to try to get to Vetrano, but yeah, he was absolutely open completely. There was some kind of defensive breakdown, and it sucks for Martin Jones because he had a fantastic game, and even on that goal, you can't really blame him. Vetrano was essentially home free, right? And it was just it was an absolute breakaway. So can't really blame Martin Jones on that one. Kind of sucks, but c'est la vie. That is life. Let's go into the. Yeah, sorry. Did you have something to say?
Sorry, speaking of Martin Jones, though, what did you
Yeah.
think of the decision to go with him back to back? Because I thought that was pretty gutsy. Like you don't really see that, especially for a guy who's not a proven or not proven, but not a bona fide start. Like to go back to back on a road trip.
Hmm.
Did you not think that was like a Hildeby? Like that was a game where Hildeby could have won. I'm not complaining, but that was like the game you would put Hildeby in. And
Yeah.
side note, when I saw Hildeby on the bench, I'm like, did they sign Garrett Sparks again? Because he had the same number and the same haircut. And I'm like, oh, Garrett Sparks. Oh, wait a second, that's Dennis Hildeby.
Yeah, no. Armand and I were talking about this yesterday, in the last game, and we were pretty confident that we would be seeing Dennis Hill to be making his debut for the Leafs. I think this would have been the perfect game, honestly. Because like we're playing against Anaheim, this is a 30th place team. This is a team that obviously has not been looking too hot, right? And the second half of the back to back, you're gonna need Martin Jones to pick up a majority of the games. So maybe having giving him some time off is gonna do him good, right? You don't want him playing all of the games before Wall is back, right? So I thought this was a perfect position to see Dennis Hildeby. I was actually really excited to see what he could do in net for us. But I'm not mad about the decision. I think Martin Jones, yeah, having a shutout the night before, like he looked fantastic. He had all the momentum going, and I guess Keefe decided, hey, let's play the hot hand. Martin Jones
Yeah,
played fine. He's been looking great. Let's keep the confidence up and let's let him have some more games under his belt.
What a revelation that Martin Jones has been, because man, like if you didn't have this guy and all you had was Ilya Samsonov and Dennis Hildeby to look at, man, I don't know how many of these games would end up being losses. Like this is a whole, like there could be a gulf between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, all because of the way Martin Jones has played, and that is something you would have not said a couple months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God that we signed him when we did, because holy crap. Can you imagine how bad this team would be struggling if we didn't
Man,
have Martin Jones? Like, that's a massive pickup by Tree Living, one that I
massive
don't
pick.
think anyone would have expected, or expected him to play the way he has been, right? He's
Yeah,
literally redefined in his career like 7 years later. um, After like he had a decent spell with the Sharks. But yeah, like he's been absolutely great, and we're gonna have to rely on him more. So hopefully this continues.
we will.
Let's talk about the third period though, because
Mhm.
that's when we did get our tying goal by our captain John Tavares. Literally 14, what was it, 14 minutes into the period, right?
Yeah, 12 to 14, somewhere between that. Yeah, yeah, he caught it in there and with the nosebleed and all. Like had the Kleenex stuffed up his nose. What an image that was. With so much emotion. I didn't know, did he show that much emotion when they won the first round series when he
That's
scored that goal?
that's exactly what I was gonna get to. Whole the emotion that he showed, like I'm pretty sure that was like the most passion that I've seen in him in a goddamn long time. That's it. You can
Maybe
just
ever.
tell. Yeah, and you can tell like the frustration was just building in this entire Leafs core. The fact that they had like what 40 something shots on goal and like no goals to account for that, like it must have been driving this team up the goddamn wall. So
Yeah.
when he finally put it in, like it all just came rushing out. You could see the emotion. It was really great to see. But yeah, like talking about the way that he scored it too, he did a fantastic job in front of the Ducks net. Riley gets a shot off from distance, pings it off the post, lands in front of Tavares, who's all alone and gets the rebound. When when the rebound comes, or the rebound opportunity lands in the right position for Tavares, it looked honestly like Dostal had no idea where it was, and that's
Yeah.
all because Tavares did a fantastic job just screening and being a menace in front of the net. So all the right, I guess, skills, all the right thoughts going into it, and then ends up tying the game for us.
Yeah, and like I want to do a super cut of all of John Tavares' goals. Like I'd like to see someone do that. I want to watch all of them and see how many of them are within like 2 feet of the of the net, because he is just absolutely a master. He's a genius in front of the net, getting those greasy goals. And that's what I was saying. I really wrote down. I'm like, if they want to win this or tie this game, they're gonna need something stupid,
Hmm.
something. They're not gonna get some kind of like master class play, like some kind of crazy dangle by Marner. It's going to have to be something in front of the net, something silly. And they were crashing the net a lot. It's just Dostal was on his game, like completely on a historic level at that point.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And luckily we were able to get this past. The game ends up going to OT. And
By the way,
here it was.
15,
Sorry, go ahead.
15, 15 OT games, 15. Like the Leafs live in OT. Like they
Oh
should be
yeah, it's
getting
crazy.
time and a half. That's how much OT they've been playing.
Yeah, we're really living off of the 1 points that you get in OT, because goddamn, imagine if we didn't end up getting those 1 points, like we would be really struggling right now.
Oh yeah.
But hey, today didn't even need that 1 point. We ended up getting 2 points off of a goal from Austin Matthews. Marner with a beautiful pass. Matthews able to get the game winner, and you can see the passion again in both of those guys. I love Marner's reactions. I don't know about you, but Marner has absolutely the best reactions when it comes to these goals. He
Yeah.
looks like every just Leafs fan just going crazy. It's like every time I'm playing NHL and I get like a crazy goal and I'm like freaking out, that's
That's it.
literally Marner.
I think Mitch Marner will always perpetually looks like a young kid, and that's not even a knock on him. He just has that kind of spirit about him. to where like I think even when he's like in his 50s and he's gonna come back to be an alumni for Leaf games, he's gonna still have that kind of childlike magic to him. So that's one thing that I think that really it's kind of contagious for the Leafs. But man, he passed it to a guy who scored 30 goals in what game is this? Is this 30? Not 30 games.
No, this is, what is
36
this?
games.
36, 36. Yeah.
Dang. I mean,
That's
that is what a 70
insane.
goal pace.
Oh, man.
Someone math that for me because I can't
Insane.
math right now. But
There's a reason why this guy is freaking elite. And like, yeah, just I don't know what more to say about these guys because honestly, that first line was looking so goddamn great, and especially Marner, because Marner, we talked about the struggles he had 2 games ago where he looked horrible, 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 horrible,
yeah,
and the last game against the Kings, he turned around today. He was really important for that first line. I think he had a lot of great plays, and a lot of good playmaking. He was very crafty and got a lot of pucks out to Matthews. I mean, Matthews had 20 shot attempts on the night. Like
no way.
insane. Insane. And yeah, this is because Marner was just doing a fantastic job of getting the puck to the main guy. So as whenever Marner has a bad game, we'll talk about it. When he has a great game, we'll talk about it too. That top line was buzzing today.
Yeah. And like all credit to the Leafs here because this is one of those games where they could like when they're starting to get really goalied, like they could have kind of turtled and kind of started to lose their edge.
Hmm.
But the amount of shot attempts, 100 shot attempts, like the amount of bombs they put at Dostal this game, like these guys really, really wanted this game. They wanted to leave LA with the LA sweep, basically. Like I mean Anaheim LA sweep. And yeah, like they really, really wanted this. This wasn't like they could have Leafs teams in the past could
Hmm.
have chalked it up to being we're getting our asses getting goalied right now. It's over. Let's head to San Jose. Oh, I saw a lot of fight. All 3 periods too. There wasn't any kind of letdown either. And that's something I was like, ooh, I like what I see here.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, like a lot of other teams would have folded, and these guys stuck it through, and you can tell they were frustrated, but they were still sticking the course. They were still doing the right fundamentals and making the smart plays and not letting that frustration really get the better of them. I have a fun stat actually today. So the Leafs, this is their fourth time that they've had 40 or more shots on goal this season, right? Those other 3 games all were losses.
Losses?
Yes, all of them. So I see 48 shots on goal. That was against the Columbus Blue Jackets on December 14th, 5-6 loss. 40 shots on goal against the New York Islanders, loss 3-4. That was December 11th. Then December 2nd, the Leafs 3-4 loss as well, 40 shots on goal. Today was the first time we had more than 40 shots on goal. What was it? I said 56 shots on goal, and we
56.
actually managed to eke out our win, or 57, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, and Luke in the chat, like this is a great like a great stat right here. Or when was the last time you saw 2 full 60-minute efforts in a row? I don't know if I've seen full 60-minute efforts like that much. Like honestly, in any game, like there's always been some sort of lull. Every time we do one of these streams, we're always talking about a period where it's like, well, they didn't show up. They kind of stayed in the locker room. Like they didn't come out ready to perform. They were on it every second of the game too. So and another thing I wanted to point out too, like this team is tougher than last season, is it not? Like
Hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to go and win every fight, and they don't have to, but they're out there. I just saw Timothy Littlegren mixing it up like after a whistle. Like you don't gotta win these fights, but seeing that these guys have a bit more edge, a bit more of an attitude, like don't mess with us,
Hmm.
that is also a promising sign.
Yeah, I think that's something that wasn't there at the start of the season, but I think that's something that's developed over time. I think like that Lilligren injury really put a focus on put a spotlight on these guys that they need to change, like that they have to be more responsible and stick up for their guys. And yeah, like you said, the last couple of games, you saw that exact thing. I mean, the last game against the Kings, we saw Matthews get hit hard, and instantly, Nyes is there. Nyes, the freaking rookie, how old is he? Like 22, 23.
Less.
He's
I think he's like
there.
21. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he was in college the last season. Last season, he's there being a big body, saying, "Hey, you're not doing this to our best guy today." And like this game as well, Benoit was really aggressive. We saw Bobby McMahon.
Hmm.
But they're playing very physical hockey, which is really good to see, and they're showing that we're not going to be pushovers. If you step on the wrong toes, if you hit the wrong guy, there are going to be consequences, and that's exactly what you need for a team that has playoff aspirations, as championship aspirations, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. When you go out and get some, say, oh, go out and get an enforcer. It's not about winning fights. Like they don't count towards any stat winning fights. It's about consistent toughness throughout the lineup, like
Mm-hmm.
from your skill players, from guys that are going to be on the ice
Mm-hmm.
when it matters. That's what they've been lacking, and that's what I'm
Exactly.
starting to see, even from the top guys. Like someone was saying, even Tavares was in a bit of a scrum in the last game, and like that's what you really need to see when you're going up against Florida and Boston.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to beat them on the scoreboard, but you cannot back down because they're going to try some shithousery after every whistle. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to be ready for that. And I like that they're getting themselves, they're stealing themselves for that. You know.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the point that I was making earlier on this season, when there was a lot of talk about um oh shit, what's his name again? Ooh, how did I forget his name? Ryan Reeves. God damn,
Ryan
it's been
Reeves.
so long since
Wow,
we've
you
seen him
forgot
on
Ryan.
the
Disrespect.
it's been so long since I've seen him on the ice, thank God, by the way.
Yeah.
You can't rely on one guy to have that grit and make the other team responsible for bad hits or whatever, right? It has to be a team effort. It has to come from each and every one of them. It can't be one guy that you rely on, especially when the guy is just unplayable, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like having not seen Nia stick up, like you said, with Tavares, Benoit has been great. Lagesson throws some big body hits, McCabe as well. All of these guys, all of these guys are showing heart. They're showing some aggression, and yeah, it's been great to see, just like you said.
I saw a really funny a tweet, but like I don't know who it was from. I just saw it and I remembered it. It's
Hmm.
like the reason why the Leafs are playing so tough is because they don't want Ryan Reeves is causing them to play tough because they don't want him to play again. So like they're just saying we got to play tough so we don't have to play Ryan Reeves anymore. And I'm like, that's pretty funny. That's a good theory. I like that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, guys, we're gonna be heading out into the live presser. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them below. And while you're there,
Questions.
there's 130 of you guys watching live. It's 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard right now. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're
Yeah, man.
9.9 or 9.1K subscribers right now. We're so close to that 100,000. It would be absolutely fantastic if we're able to hit that 100,000 sooner rather than later. So please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and yeah, Fouad.
Give us some questions. Anything Leafs related, NHL related. Like give us some takes. I want to hear some takes. It's midnight. And I'm ready for a good take. One thing while we get the presser coming in,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on the reported number around William Nylander
Oh
with
yeah.
the the 11 point something? I know this is a new CBA and the cap is going up. That one made me go oh like a little bit like oh dang like as much as he's been playing really well, I'm still squeamish at that. What
Yeah,
do you think?
Armand and I talked about this yesterday because I think that report came out from
Yeah,
Kipper in the
yeah,
intermission,
Kipper and
and
Horn.
yeah, we talked about this yesterday, and we're both on the same mindset that 11 million is a lot right now, but and the other thing is like it's reported that it's an 8-year contract. He's going for the max, so it is a lot, but the good thing is the cap is going to go up, right? So it's going to go up drastically, and that number is going to be more palatable as we get later on in the season, or later on in the next couple of seasons. And plus, like next at the end of next season, we're gonna have Tavares coming off the book, so hopefully he takes a more team friendly deal right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping on. But yeah, the guy has been playing absolutely fantastic. He's a bona fide star, and he's really stepped up this season. I think he has what, like 50 points in the season so far. He is on something completely different. Like he's one of our best guys. And the great thing about Nylander is he has shown up in playoffs consistently, right? He's been one of our best forwards in the playoffs, and it's because his play really contributes or transitions very well to playoff style hockey. He's a very physical guy who's like a very skilled forward, and yeah, I think he is deserved of that 11 mil, and I hope that we sign him sooner rather than later. So there's reports saying that he could get that contract signed as early as the end of this week. But yeah, so it looks like conversations are heading the right way, and he will be signed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and there's some people that come into the chat saying how much weaker, like Travis saying how much weaker the Leafs defense will get with that new Nylander contract, and I'm like, that's a good point because guys are going to be coming off the books.
Mm,
TJ Brody's going to be off the books, probably not going to be back after next season unless they sign something small.
mm-hmm,
You're still going to be patching it up out there. Now, you got good forward prospects to fill it out. Minton, Cowan, they are guys that look to be, maybe a season away. You hope.
mm-hmm.
But man, that defense, if they can find a way to get that defense, get somebody, couple of guys in there, like sneak them in there under the cap, I'll be okay with it. But they're making it really, really hard on themselves if they make that contract. But again, he's one of the best players. You can't just let him walk. You can't let him go in free
Exactly.
agency, right? Like
Yeah.
their hands are tied.
Yeah.
The move would have been in the offseason. Now your hands are tied. You can't do nothing. You
Yeah,
can't
the
be
the
trading them
move
right
would
now.
have been to get rid of Marner and like when they had the chance, but
Yeah.
now that you don't really have an opportunity to do that.
Nope.
And the Leafs management just have themselves to look at, right? You can't get rid of Dubas and then expect to bring in a new guy and have a massive, like, literally franchise altering, earth shattering deal done within a couple days. It's just not feasible. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to stick with the guys that you have right now. And I
Yeah.
personally think you signed Willie. But yeah, was there any other questions in the chat that you
I
see?
saw a couple here. I saw a couple here. So who will represent the Leafs in the All-Star game from Fernando? I want to say, I think I hate that it's every team gets one player. That just
Hmm.
this just bothers me. I wish it was just who was the best players, put them in the All-Star game to me. Like I don't want it. I don't care about the best player of the San Jose Sharks. I don't know. Like I want the All Star game to be a snapshot of who matters that season. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Yeah. I mean that's fair, but I think they want to have some representation from every team. There are some like, although there are really really bad teams. You want to put some spotlight on those guys and like make sure the teams have someone there to cheer for. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's got to be Matthews, right? It kind of sucks. Like, Marner would have been a great shout too because he's a hometown guy. He's looked pretty good this season. But yeah, I think it has to be Matthews, especially with the amount of freaking goals that he scored. A, he's a star. I think it has to be Matthews.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have so many options, right? Like, if you have Marner there, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. If you have Nylander there, I'm not mad. Like, we have options, right?
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Okay. One more. I have another one here. Matthew, our MVP of the chat every night. What do you think of Robertson sitting for Holmberg? And I thought this was weird. I looked it up. I was like, is Nick Robertson playing that bad? And I looked it up and it said he's had 6 points in 10 games. Like he's not been bad.
Mhm.
That's not terrible. So why did they make that swap?
I think the main thing is just trying to get players some ice time, right? This is the second half of a back to back. Robertson has been playing well. I don't think it's a performance reason why he was scratched. I think it's mainly like, hey, going like further on in the season, there might be opportunities to get that we're gonna have to rely on some more depth. So we're playing against an Anaheim team that's clearly not one of the best teams in the league. There's a reason why they're 30th. Let's get some guys in there just to get some games under their hands and make sure that they're still fresh and whatnot, right? I think it's mainly just rotation. Get some guys some playing time. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some ruse in the chat saying trade for Hannafin and Tanev. Obviously, that's the rumor du jour. Give them Robertson, Minton, Brody, and a first. And I don't hate that, by the way. But that get me thinking, like, I think if you thought of anybody, he might be a guy you look at as an odd man out, in my opinion. Now, I like the player a lot,
Hmm.
but it's hard to find a place for him because of his he's a small winger who's really offensively sound, just really, really small. So if he might not reach his full potential in Toronto, I wouldn't mind seeing what they could get as far as a veteran defenseman. If they could do that, I wouldn't mind that, in my opinion. That's just me, and that's just ruse in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to get two bona fide like great defensemen, then yeah,
Yeah,
like that makes sense. But um, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would really work out because you are also giving up Brody, who although hasn't been great for us, he's still important for this team.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm not sure. I think Robertson has a place. The main issue that we've seen with Robertson, the reason why he hasn't had the amount of games that we would have expected out of him so far in his career is the injuries, right? When he's playing and when he's on the ice, he's a great player, right? But it's just, is he gonna have, or is he gonna develop the way that we expected him to if he's injured, or if he's in a ton of games, right? So I'm not sure. Like, if maybe you sell high on the guy, he still clearly has some value. He's still a great prospect. Maybe you sell high on him now, or you just have him in the lineup, have him as your third line winger, and just play him there. I'm not too sure.
totally, totally. Well, I think if anybody wants to sneak in some last second ones, next game we got the San Jose Sharks, another team
Hmm.
that is not exactly great, but
That's an
we'll
understatement.
see. We will see if they up, don't play like they play up to their competition and look to kick some ass like they tried to do tonight against the
Mhm.
Anaheim Ducks. Like we'll see what they do there. Like as I want to see how they really come out against San Jose and see if they've really beaten that,
Yeah, if
playing
they
down their competition
lose
out.
if they lose against San Jose, if that game is even competitive, problems. I'm gonna be
I
so
just
pissed off. The San Jose Sharks, like, they're such a bad team, one of the worst teams we've ever seen. They're 1-9 in the last 10. Um, and we play two games against them. I believe our next two games are against them as well. So we
home
have
and home.
Saturday, yeah, Saturday
Weird.
against them, and then Tuesday next week against them as well. So two games in a row against a Sharks team. What I do actually want to see is I want to see Hildeby make a debut in one of those games. It's a
Yeah.
relatively like stress-free game or whatnot. Like, this is one of the easiest games that you can get to have your debut. Just purely for the fact that I just want to see how this guy does in net. He's been great for the Marlies. I really wanted to see how he performs, and if he was to come in, like, maybe let him get a rep against the Sharks because the Sharks are a shit team.
Yeah, and that's the best time to bring him in. I think you will probably see that, unless they just keep riding the hot hand with Jones. But I'm excited to see him too because I mean this is a young guy. Like, this is really young for a guy to bring up, like 22 years old, especially
Mhm.
for a goalie. The goalies obviously take a long time to kind of develop, if ever.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see where where he's at in his development. Like if he can actually steal the net from or steal that backup slot or steal that like can he be a factor for this team and so they don't have to go out and get somebody, right? That's going to be very interesting to see.
I don't think we're gonna really see him become the backup. I
No,
think Martin
I
Jones
saw this.
is,
Maybe the third goalie.
yeah, I think that's pretty much where he's gonna stand. But yeah, like, having some competition, I guess, for Samsonov right now, because clearly Samsonov has lost his backup position right now. Having some kind of pressure on Samsonov is great, and yeah, like, we'll see how he does. Is Swedish, like, 22-year-old, 6'7", like, mammoth of a man. We'll see what Hildeby can do. But yeah, I think
The beast.
that's all the questions we had. So we'll cut it here. Thank you guys again if you're watching live. It is almost 1 a.m. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys. There's been a ton of discourse in the chat, a
36.
ton of people here live, 136, like you said. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate each and every one of you guys coming out here. Have a great night, and we will see you live
Yeah.
on Saturday where we
And
play against the Sharks, and hopefully have Hill to be in net. Good night, everyone.